Hi, I'm Andrew Gothelf with the AppExchange marketing team. Welcome to App Talks. App Talks is a series of conversations with Salesforce customers about how business apps from the AppExchange help improve business outcomes. Today we're in Melville, New York, on the campus of Canon to learn how Canon Information and Imaging Solutions is using Fujitsu's Glovia OM to completely transform the way it runs its business. I sat down with Dennis Amorosano, Senior Vice President and General Manager of CIIS, to learn more. Dennis, welcome to App Talks. Thanks for having me here on your campus.
Oh, great. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So to start, everyone has heard of Canon, but could you give us a sense of what Canon Information and Imaging Solutions is, as well as your role within that part of the business?
Sure. So I'm the Senior Vice President and General Manager within Canon Information and Imaging Solutions, and this is a services and solution delivery company that Canon established back in 2011. One of the reasons we established this company was we saw some major changes happening in our business-to-business marketplace, and certainly a greater proclivity on the part of customers to incorporate software and professional services in combination with our traditional hardware technology. And building a separate company allowed us to more effectively deliver that on behalf of our clients, while at the same time ultimately building out what has become one of the larger software R&D organizations inside Canon on a global basis.
One of the important parts of this story is your channel partners. So before we go down the road, can you give us a sense of what that relationship is like?
Yeah, sure. So, of course, CIS itself has a number of channel partners, which you would typically term as systems integrators. However, if you look at Canon's traditional business-to-business organization, this is an organization that has primarily sold our hardware technology through channel partners on a historic basis. We have several hundred channel partners throughout the United States. Who are actively involved in selling and supporting Canon-branded office equipment technology in the market, as well, of course, now as software, and delivering the appropriate services to help customers integrate those technologies into their working environments.
We're here to talk about Fujitsu Glovia OM. I think before we start talking about that solution, it's important to go back and talk about how things were before you were using that technology. So can you give us a sense of what your technology stack looked like, as well as some of the limitations of it?
So Canon, of course, is, as I think most people are aware, we've been a primary supplier of office technology hardware really almost since Canon's founding almost 80 years ago. Of course, that still remains a major business for Canon. You know, if we go back in time, maybe 15 or so years ago, we looked at what was happening in the marketplace, and we ultimately made the business decision that we were going to start diversifying our business by incorporating software and services delivery activities in connection with that software as part of our product portfolio. I had the good fortune of actually building and running that business within our business-to-business group, many years ago when we ultimately put that in place. While that was really exciting, one of the challenges, frankly, that we had in terms of building that business is that we had a traditional ERP system that was really built to sell physical things. And so if you wanted to ship a physical product, the system was really good at transacting that business and being able to manage inventory in our warehouses and the like. But of course, software businesses by their nature, you're typically dealing with an intangible, and you typically don't want to have to inventory software in the warehouse for obvious reasons, in many cases based upon the fact that you're constantly making updates and enhancements to software. So of course, if you were inventorying product, that product would become obsolete quite quickly. One of the major challenges, of course, we had was, well, how are we going to transact our software business using the legacy system that we had in place? And frankly speaking, this wasn't a major problem for us in the early days of our software business development, but of course, as the market continued to change and as the business models around software continued to evolve, it started to become a significant challenge, and one that made it very difficult for us actually to drive the kind of business models and channel and customer interactions from a transactional perspective that we were looking for. We ultimately reached a point where we knew we were going to need to make a change in terms of the transactional systems we had in place, which ultimately led us to working with Fujitsu and taking advantage of their Glovia order management technology.
The technology was impacting you from sort of a running your business standpoint.
Sure.
What about the channel partners? How are they impacted?
Yeah, no different really for the channel partners. You know, the channel partners had the same kind of challenges that we at Canon faced. The systems that they themselves use to run their businesses, although on a smaller scale, of course, than Canon's, they also were very much built to deal with physical product going into a warehouse and ultimately being shipped out to a customer based upon a customer order. As we at Canon introduced software, they also had the same challenges that we faced in terms of trying to figure out in some ways how to trick their systems to be able to handle what ultimately was an intangible. As we looked at implementing a new systems infrastructure then to support our software business and ultimately to support the business models that we wanted to create, we had in mind at the very early stages to ensure that that system that we implemented would be extensible to our channel partners, so they wouldn't necessarily have to make major investments in their own systems to deal with these changes, and they could piggyback on the investments that Canon itself would make in terms of transacting this part of our business.
Let's talk about turning the tide on some of these challenges a little
Sure.
bit. What was it that made Glovia OM the right solution? Can you talk a little bit about Canon's relationship with Fujitsu at large?
Yeah, so of course Canon has had a very long-standing relationship with Fujitsu. You know, both organizations are Japanese-based companies headquartered in Japan, and we've had a very long relationship working with Fujitsu at a corporate level. And of course, that's extended to the work that we do here in the Americas. So Fujitsu, of course, continues to be a strong partner of Canon. They're a major supplier for us of IT support. Even within Canon Information and Imaging Solutions, we work very closely with Fujitsu and partner with them in terms of driving joint solutions to market. So it's very natural for us to then evaluate the technology that they bring to market in terms of the needs that we had. Not that we didn't look at other technologies in the market, because we certainly did. We felt it was important for us to do our due diligence. However, when we really looked at all the details associated with the business needs we had, where we wanted to go on a long-term basis, and the relationships that Canon itself had with potential providers in the marketplace, we ultimately felt that the Glovia OM technology was the right fit. It happens to be the framework and the technology platform we use to run our business in CIS as well. Given the relationship we had with Fujitsu, it made perfect sense for us to work with them in a collaborative way to ultimately implement this technology on behalf of our business-to-business unit within Canon USA.
Were there certain features or functionalities that really stood out as you were evaluating Glovia OM?
The biggest ones are really around flexibility. So, from a business perspective, that was one of the things that was really lacking in terms of the traditional ERP system that we had in place within Canon. Again, it really was built to deal with physical product, and so it didn't give us the flexibility that we wanted as it related to, for example, business model design. Certainly, it didn't give us the flexibility in terms of how we might bundle technologies and products together to build attractive bundled offerings to our customers. It didn't give us an ability to extend that system to our channel partners. It didn't give us a license management capability that could ultimately be extended to our partners and to end customers. When we looked at all of those benefits, we felt that that system and the flexibility it would provide to us as a platform upon which we could ultimately build a system that was specific to our needs. It made perfect sense and ultimately became a perfect fit for us. I think our experience thus far, having now had the system in place for a couple of years within Canon, has been positive in that, again, it's really dramatically changed the way in which we can drive this part of our business, and has given us flexibility from a line of business perspective that, frankly speaking, we would not have had we not made the transition to the system as we did a couple years ago.
Rolling out ERP is no small task. How did you go about sort of implementing Glovia OM?
Of course, Canon Information Imaging Solutions in its own right is a system delivery organization, right? So we are engaging with customers on a day in and day out basis in terms of driving enterprise class systems into their environments, whether it be helping them to more effectively structure their enterprise print activities or activities around content management or accounts payable processing and the like. So we ourselves have a really significant level of expertise in our own organization as it relates to driving these kinds of systems into customer environments. And so what we ultimately did is we kind of paired the expertise in CIS and the personnel in our project management and solutions engineering organization with like resources from Fujitsu and ultimately built a unified project team that has now taken ownership of the development and delivery of the system inside Canon. And as you see today, in many cases, we've basically driven the implementation of the system based upon a phased approach, geared around agile sprints. We're consistently working in one or more sprints, and as a result of those sprints, then delivering needed functionality to the system, and then going live and driving that functionality to not only the internal personnel inside Canon, but our external stakeholders with our channel partners. So that process and structure has worked really well. The expertise, of course, that Fujitsu brings around the product is key. Obviously, we didn't have that expertise, but certainly the fact that CIS as an organization is in the same type of business in some respects has given us an ability to more effectively manage the internal implementation of this system working with Fujitsu than if we didn't have that kind of resource inside our company.
Were you equally as methodical in terms of deploying the technology, both to internal stakeholders as well as to your channel partners?
Oh yeah, no doubt. So so obviously, it was important for us to ensure that our internal stakeholders were satisfied and that we had, adequately identified the needs and requirements they have. I mean, like any new system implementation, when you're asking personnel inside your organization to change the way they do things, you often, get resistance there until such time, for example, as that particular change is recognized by the end users as something that's actually much more efficient and will make their lives easier. And of course, that's what's happened in this case. We spent a really good amount of time in planning for the internal implementation, training, and the other activities associated with kind of the change management process that you find in any of these types of implementations. And so ultimately, we not only trained our administrative resources here in our headquarters operation, but we leverage our regional administrative groups as the primary interface to our channel partners, and so we train them as a primary liaison to our channel partners so that they then could ultimately train and educate our channel partners on how to most effectively utilize the system and take advantage of the functional benefits that system provides as compared to what they've been accustomed to in using the legacy technology that Canon has used to transact our business.
As you created this train-the-trainer model.
We did, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
In what ways has Glovia OM created this digital transformation across your business, and what have the impacts been on the way that you're able to run things?
Right. Well, as I mentioned, I think one of the biggest benefits we've seen, around the transformation, if you will, is our ability to drive business model transformation. So again, as someone who had responsibility for running our software business a number of years ago, in many ways I was handcuffed in terms of what I could do, and I was handcuffed based upon the capabilities that existed within the legacy transactional system. And as a line of business owner, the market is tough enough. Competition is hard enough, but when you're kind of hamstrung by your own internal systems, it makes it that much more difficult to achieve the revenue and profit targets you have as a line of business owner. So what Glovia has at least given us, and certainly it had given me as the line of business owner for software, was an ability not to have to think about the transactional systems relative to the business. So I could be as creative as I needed to be in terms of business model design, and I could drive business model design on an individual product basis or across the full product portfolio. But more importantly, I could drive business model design based upon the way in which our customers wanted to source technology. That benefit has been, enormous. And of course, as we know, when we look at the software industry today, it's changing so fast. And the business model innovation is also changing very rapidly. It wasn't that long ago, frankly, that the idea of a subscription-based business model just didn't exist in the marketplace. And now, of course, when you look at a large percentage of the software that's out there, particularly cloud-based software, the vast majority of the business models that are being used for cloud-based software are subscription-based. So under our legacy system, frankly speaking, it would have been challenging for us to have those kinds of businesses because the system just wasn't equipped to handle it. Whereas today, of course, that's not a problem. The system gives us that flexibility, and again, we can extend that flexibility down to our business partners so they also can take advantage of that given the changes that are happening in the marketplace.
Is it safe to say that Glovia OM has essentially created a better customer experience through meeting market demands faster and being able to bundle all of these products together in a way that's better suited to them? Yeah,
and I think there are quite a few benefits that the end customer gets. One of the biggest ones, frankly, is the transparency to the end customer, right? So in order for a customer to source the technology from Canon and a Canon channel partner in the way they want to source it, we're not asking the customer to do, back handsprings down the hallway to make that happen, right? We're making it easy for customers to do business with us, which of course, is good for the end customer, certainly good for us, good for our channel partners. In addition, though, what we've done in terms of the design of the system is that we've created not only an ability to extend that system to our channel partners in terms of managing licenses and license deployment and things of that nature, but the system gives us the ability to extend that to the end customer as well. So as we kind of envision where we go in terms of system development, we very much anticipate that the system itself will allow us to build an ecosystem whereby our channel partners will have a specific set of capabilities that they can drive in leveraging the system, and our end customers will have a specific set of capabilities that they can take advantage of, and again, in terms of license management and deployment and things of that nature.
Through all of this process of implementation and deployment and continuing to build, how important has it been to have that partnership that Canon has with Fujitsu?
Any of these kinds of implementations, partners are key. I think what we find today in the software industry in general is that there are very few companies that have all of the technical expertise, all of the technology capable of satisfying the complex business requirements that we see in the marketplace today. And so more often than not, and of course we see this in our business within CIS, but more often than not, you're finding that multiple parties are working in collaboration to solve a business problem, and as a result, the level of partnership is critical to being able to execute effectively, and maybe most importantly, to be able to overcome challenges as they happen in the course of any project delivery. Having that deep level relationship with Fujitsu, both at a technology level, but as importantly at an executive level, has really helped us to work collaboratively to figure out ways of overcoming not only the technology challenges that we encountered along the way, but also the challenges we would face in terms of resource and things of that nature. You really can measure the depth of the relationship and the partner, when you start to encounter trouble, right? When things are smooth sailing, partnerships look great. It's really when you start to encounter challenges that you recognize the depth of a partnership that you have and the value that partner delivers, and certainly we've been extremely satisfied in working with Fujitsu in this project and in many others where we've collaborated in the past, as well as those we anticipate collaborating on in the future.
We'd like to close App Talks by sharing a little peer-to-peer advice. What have you learned throughout this process that you think others might be able to benefit from?
There are quite a few things. One of the things I would say is that any project of this scope, I think, requires a fairly good level of upfront planning, and Of course, this is true of any project. I personally, think that the better you plan, the more likely you are to achieve a positive outcome if your plan is an effective one. I would say that in connection with any project, but as the project, scales in terms of size and complexity, and particularly projects that are related to the way in which you transact business, upfront planning becomes really key. Related to that is really understanding the core business requirements beyond, what do we need to do technically to make this happen. What we're finding today in the marketplace, and certainly is true in our case, is that the line of business owner inside the organization, although they may have a marketing function, let's say, or whatever the case might be, the line of business owner today is much more knowledgeable in terms of the impact that the technology systems have on their ability to perform and execute their job function, right? This was certainly true in my case in running our software business, and understanding that in order for me to be able to execute the things I wanted to do from a business planning perspective, I needed to have a systems infrastructure in place that would facilitate that. So as you drive these kind of projects, really understanding what it is the line of business owner wants to accomplish, and not only accomplish for that given project, but where they envision that business going. I think that becomes critically important, because you don't want to be in a position where, okay, you kind of reach the finish line, you implement your solution, and 6 months later there's a change in the marketplace, and your solution can't adapt, right? So you've got to give some forward-looking thinking to this.
It doesn't hurt to have the right partner through that whole process.
No, clearly. I mean, the right partner's key, right? As we talked about before, I mean, you can do all the great planning you want. If you've got the wrong partner, you're not going to have success. So that goes without saying. I mean, the partners are critical. And of course, again, these types of systems tend to have multiple partners who are involved in driving, towards the ultimate results. Ensuring that those relationships are strong and in place is critical to, overcoming some of the obstacles that you're bound to experience in connection with any large-scale system deployment.
That's great advice. It's a great story. Dennis, thanks so much for joining us on App Talks and hosting me to talk about Glovia OM.
Great. My pleasure, and thanks for coming. Thanks for the opportunity to share our story. We appreciate it.